Welcome back to episode 4. So this is the 4th week of the tank rebuild series. So we're just going to go over some of the things that I've done to the tank in the last week. And starting with the fish, I did get a couple of new, actually 4 new fish. I've got the azure damsels, and they are beautiful blue fish with yellow tails. And then I've got a couple of Bartlett Anthias that you can see there on the right, and I'm really loving these fish. The Bartletts are great because, or any Anthias rather, because they kind of swim around in the upper water column, and if you have laminar flow or flow that's basically one directional, it's really nice. A lot of times they'll come up and kind of swim in the flow. They're not really doing that now, but I do have a camera pointed at the tank, so they're a little bit shy. But typically when they're just doing their thing, they'll go up there and kind of swim against the current. It's really pretty. Whereas you can see most of the other fish that kind of just hang out on the rocks, and the Anthias typically like to go in the main water column, so they really fill that negative space nicely. So some of the things that we did is we had to take out some of the fish that were causing problems, so that I could make room for these new fish. So what I did is I ended up getting the Nios fish trap, and that worked phenomenally well. It only took about maybe 10 minutes putting fish food in it and getting the fish out. It really worked great. I was wanting to do this for a long time because I love Anthias, but I could never add them because my skunk clown and my blue-green chromis, that was really causing a lot of problems with adding new fish. So I took those out, and voila, put these new fish in and really did not have any problems. Now we are dealing with dinos, so one of the main reasons why I rebooted this tank is because I had a Dino Outbreak. I tried a few things to get rid of the dinos. I did post that in a previous video. I tried the Dino X, tried a bunch of things, and it just didn't work. All my attempts failed. So they've come back with a vengeance, and they're back just as bad, if not worse, than they were before. So replacing the sand with live sand, replacing the rock with live rock, and doing some pretty big water changes just to kind of reset the tank really didn't do anything for the dinos. I mean, if anything, it almost made it worse. So we're gonna try some new things. We got a new battle plan in place. I've done a lot of research in the past week and found out that some of the things that I was trying, they weren't being done properly, or just they weren't being implemented in the right way. So for example, on the UV, I was using a 16 watt Coral Life UV, which that really isn't enough to kill dinos. You really need 3 watts per gallon. So this is 110 total system volume. So I would need approximately 36 watt UV sterilizer. Now, the UV light, as you can imagine, is only going to get rid of or kill the dinos that are free floating. So if you have the type of dino that is free floating, generally that's pretty easy to get rid of because you just get a UV, do a blackout, they come in the water column, and you zap them. It's pretty easy. I've had dinos before that were like that, and I literally got rid of them within a week. But the dinos that I have now, I did get a microscope, I ID'd them, and they're the type that basically swim down into the sand at night to protect themselves. And same thing with the rocks. They basically go down into the crevices of the rocks once the light turns off. So it's very hard to get them into the water column to kill them with the UV. So what you have to do is you have to either get them into the water column, which you can stir the stand bed You can, blow the rocks, blow the glass, everything like that. The only problem with that is most dinos are toxic. So if you do that, it's going to really stress out your corals, and potentially kill corals, which that's what happened in my case. I did that not knowing that they were dinos. I thought they were just diatoms because they look very similar. They're both are like a rust color. So moral of the story is you really need to ID your dinos before you implement a strategy, because if you don't know what type they are, you really don't know where to start, and you don't know if what you have, let's say, is a dino or a diatom. So when you're looking at a diatom under the microscope, they don't move. They don't have a little flagellum. That's why they call them dinoflagellates, because the dino cell has a flagellate, and a flagellate is like a little swimmer, almost like a little sperm cell. They swim around, and that's going to be how you can tell. The diatom generally looks like kind of like a squished football. It's the best way I can describe it, and it just sits there. It doesn't move around. So it's very easy if you just put it under a microscope. They're pretty cheap on Amazon. You can pick one up fairly simply. But yeah, you put it under a microscope, and immediately you can tell if you have a dino or a diatom. That's really easy. Anyone can do that. The harder part is then determining which type of dino that you have. Now, the type of dino that free swims, the most common one, what will happen is it will kind of like spin on a top. So it won't be like just swimming around your sample. It'll kind of just be like corkscrewing, if you will. So how it moves will tell you. But long story short, the type that I have is the type that goes in the sand. So UV can work, but you have to get it suspended in the water column to get it to work. So the other thing that I tried, wasn't trying before, that you really should be doing is you should be running active carbon, because it kind of makes sense, and I can't believe I didn't think about it before, but the active carbon will remove the toxins out of the water. So if you have dinos, you really should be running activated carbon, and that'll help your corals from getting stressed. So, obviously your mechanical filtration, active carbon, and after watching a couple of really good videos, I think the best videos that I watched on the subject that really inspired me were actually on, what's this guy's name? Not Reef Bum, but Reef Dudes. So Reef Dudes, he does a live stream where he interviews this guy named Jason Mack, apparently legend on getting rid of dinos. And so he does this interview there, and he also has another video where he gets dinos, I believe, in one of his frag tanks, and he diagnoses it. So I kind of combined some of the information in those two videos that came up with my strategy. So my strategy really is as follows. One, run mechanical filtration with activated carbon. Again, that's kind of a no-brainer, but I didn't think about it. Two, I'm dosing 11 milliliters a day of hydrogen peroxide. So the formula on that is 1 milliliter per 10 gallons. So this is 110 system volume, so I'm doing 11 milliliters. Then I'm also dosing bacteria. So the bacteria that I'm dosing is Microbacter 7. The reason for that is Microbacter 7 is Brightwell Aquatics bacteria that's best for dinos. So they have, I think, 2 or 3 different bacteria products. You got the Microbacter 7, Microbacter Clean, and I believe Microbacter Razor. So I think Microbacter Razor, though, is more like Vibrant, so it's not a bacteria. But anyway, the Microbacter 7 is good for your brown algae, and the Microbacter Clean is good for your green algae. So Microbacter 7 is the best use case, for your dino, so that's what I'm doing. So I'm doing Microbacter 7 one day, and then on the off day, I'm doing Aquaforest mud. It's basically like this, I think it's called Life Source or something like that. You have to look it up, but it's really good stuff. It's basically like a mud that they get from some pristine waters in Fiji. So it has all kinds of, bacterias and just goodness from the ocean that will help, refortify your tank and help fight against dinos. So I'm dosing those two products, and then I'm running UV in the sump, but the UV in the sump, I know it's not really powerful enough, so it's really, I don't know, it's really probably not doing that much, but I just left it in there anyway. If I really wanted to go to the next level, I'd probably get the correct size UV and run it directly into the display. But I'm gonna try this first, mainly because I'm just tired of spending money on getting this dino situation corrected. And then the last thing I'm doing, which is really cool, something I actually learned about this week that I wish I would have known about, a long time ago, is that you can get a 5 micron filter sock. So not the 100 micron, not the 200 micron that you're typically used to seeing. So the 5 micron, and I'm gonna post an image of that and just show you how awesome this is. Whenever you are filtering out your sand bed, or even filtering out your water, you'll see that it actually is a small enough micron, small enough holes essentially in it to stop anything. So your water will be crystal clear in your bin where you're dumping it, and all the dinos, everything is going to get stuck in the filter sock. It's not going to pass through. So that was something that was huge, because I watched a video from Reef of Hex where he talks about, you have to manually remove it every day, and this and that. And I thought, okay, well, that makes sense. I usually try to do that if I have green hair algae or any other type of nuisance algae. I try manual removal. But what I noticed when I did that is the water in the bin would be all nasty. And it would collect some stuff in the sock, but clearly it's not getting everything out. But if you use a 5 micron, it's small enough to actually trap the dinos. And like I said, anything else, detritus, other bacterias, whatever, it gets everything out. And then what you do is you just take your CJ pump or whatever pump you're using and just pump that water right back in. So now you're not going to affect your salinity, you're not going to affect anything. It's super easy. Total time on this system takes me about 20 minutes. And that's from grabbing the bucket, setting the bucket up, doing the actual filtration, and that's start to finish 20 minutes. So that's not bad. 20 minutes today to make your display look nice. I mean, just from that standpoint, you can still enjoy your fish tank even while you're having a complete dino breakout like I am. So that's what I'm doing right now, and I mean, I've only been doing it for about a week. I haven't seen a whole lot of changes. Maybe it's gotten a little better. I can't really say for certain, but we're going to do this, until this problem is resolved. Now, if what I'm doing is not working, then I'm going to have to get that get that better UV sterilizer. But right now, I'm going to try this before I go spending money on that. And then the last thing I'm doing above all that is I'm dosing silicates. Now, the idea of dosing silicates is that the increased silicates will promote a diatom bloom. And diatoms will actually outcompete dinos. I guess it's this, according to Jason Mack and a lot of others, the diatoms compete for the same food or whatever they're consuming. So I'm dosing silicates right now. I'm dosing basically 3 dropperfuls of that a day to get it up. I have been testing for silicates. I bought the Seachem silicate test kit, which was found on Amazon. It's pretty cheap. Does 75 tests, I believe. Pretty easy to use. And I tested my tap water which that's actually hilarious because it was full of silicates. I mean, it was like off the charts silicates. I tested my RODI water, had zero, or at least non readable, or yeah, non readable on the test kit. I tested some Aquafina water that was also unreadable. I was like, that was kind of cool. And then I tested my tank water, and my tank had basically zero silicates in it. So according to Jason Mack, at least on that video, he was saying that even if you run high silicates, it's not going to actually harm your corals or anything. In fact, silicates do feed sponges, and I do have a lot of sponges in the tank, so it might actually be good for them that I'm dosing silicates. So now obviously you don't want to run high silicates all the time, because high silicates are going to produce, uglies. You're basically feeding diatoms. So it's not like something you want to run elevated silicates, but having a little bit of silicates in the system is supposedly not a bad thing. Same goes for the hydrogen peroxide. Supposedly running hydrogen peroxide, at least according to the Jason Mack in that video, and Reef Dudes, and a lot of the other videos that I watched on like aquaculture, places that do farming, they use hydrogen peroxide all the time for stuff. I actually did a test. I had a bunch of cyano growing on the outlet, on the pump outlet there at the top of the tank. It was all red. You might be able to see there. That's all gone. I basically was just, when I dosed the hydrogen peroxide, I was just dosing it right on that section there. I figured, why not? And within 3 days, that cyano was gone. Didn't hurt the coral, the GSP at all. Totally unaffected. In fact, I think it was happy I did so. So yeah, I think that about wraps it up for the battle plan to get rid of the dinos. So now it's just a waiting game, and doing this 20-30 minute routine every day, and just seeing if it works. So hopefully you guys learned something on this video, and I have certainly learned a ton in the last week. I mean, I've been doing reefing now for 4 or 5 years, and I feel like there's just so much information out there, and I just keep learning on a weekly basis, it seems like. So again, hopefully this helps, and we'll see you next week.